Well, here we are, week 11 of the NFL season. Week 10 was terrible. We should not speak of it again. It was a terrible week for me, so I don't want to really go back to it. It was awful. But here we are, week 11. Should be an interesting week as always. The NFL always is. Full parity and lots of bullshit. But as always, you know where to find me. Twitter, Locals, Rumble, YouTube of course, and Twitch. Hit me up at any of those sites. Otherwise, let's get into the video. First we have the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. A game that hopefully lives up to what the Packers did last week. Playing the Titans, who are coming off a win against the dreadful Broncos. I like the Packers in this game. I just think they can continue winning at least for a little bit. The last time they played the Titans a couple years ago, they were able to contain Derrick Henry. Probably won't be the same this time, but I think the Packers will still be able to run the ball. I think Christian Watson can still get better. And the Titans, I think, are a good team. They have some missing defensive players. Derrick Henry always gives them a chance to win. Tannehill's a little shaky, but Packers win in a close game, maybe by a couple points. But I think the home field advantage on a Thursday night game, the dreadful Thursday night games, gives them a slight edge. Next we have the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are bad. Bears are bad. Bears should have won last week, even though they were kind of screwed by the officials a little bit. The Falcons losing to the Carolina Panthers in a game that was wrought with rain, but Carolina was able to run the ball and Atlanta couldn't, as well as they should have been. And toss-up game this truly is. I really don't know what to think. Maybe Fields gives the Bears an edge, but for the last week, I don't know. Same thing with the Falcons. They've lost 2 in a row. And all thoughts of them winning the NFC South, as far as I'm concerned, are out the window. And Atlanta will slip back into irrelevancy. But we shall see. I guess the Bears, I don't feel confident at all. Not one bit. But Bears win. Next we have the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills. Cleveland getting destroyed last week by Miami. Playing another AFC East team this week in the Buffalo Bills. Bills coming off that Josh Allen game last week. Played so well, but those 2 end zone interceptions ended any chance of having a really good week. Cleveland I don't even know what to think. Their defense is kind of shit. Chubb couldn't run the ball at all. And when Chubb can't run the ball, they can't win. So I continue to see that this week. Cleveland probably loses again. I think Buffalo will come back strong. Josh Allen's still dealing with that elbow injury. But as we saw last week, it didn't affect them all that much. But Buffalo, I think, wins by a pretty decent margin. I don't think it's too close. Next we have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Colts. Colts winning against the Raiders last week with a puppet head coach. Jonathan Taylor finally finding his stride again, which is great to see, especially for fantasy owners like myself. Philly losing in a game that boggles the mind. Now they will be without Dallas Cowboys for at least 4 games, so that'll loses Jalen Hurts' security blanket. It's been a pretty solid tight end this year. And A.J. Brown wasn't able to do much last week. He had a catch stolen from him, which turned into an interception. I think Philly bounces back. Matt Ryan looks better. He looks a little rejuvenated after being on the pine for a couple weeks. I think Philly's able to regain their winning ways, at least a little bit. I don't want to pick the Colts against the Eagles. Just pick the Colts, or don't pick the Colts, and they'll probably win more than likely. Next we have the Giants versus the Patriots. I think Patriots win this one. Wait, not the Giants, the Jets. I'm an idiot. The Jets versus the Patriots. Patriots will continue to beat up on the Jets. I know the Jets are coming off a bye, and their defense has been good. It's just they can't exercise that specter that is known as the New England Patriots, and I don't see it happening this week. It could happen just because both teams are pretty good. But again, the Jets, I don't know what to think. They're just hard to gauge without Breece Hall. They're not as exciting on offense, and that's a shame. And Patriots are stuck with Mac Jones, but I think their defense will be more than enough, and Ramondre Stevenson, with a little bit of Damian Harris, will be able to run their ways over the Jets. Next we have the Rams versus the Saints. Rams without Cooper Kupp for the next 4 weeks at least. The Saints losing to Pittsburgh last week in a game where they had a chance to win, but fell apart in the second half. Got no reinforcements coming on the defense, but it's in New Orleans against the Rams, who will not have their only offensive player in Cooper Kupp. I mean, if the Saints can't win this game, I don't see them winning anymore the rest of the year, unless it's against a divisional opponent, but I think the Saints have enough to beat the Rams without Cooper Kupp. I don't know what the Rams will do without Cooper Kupp. Probably have to focus on running the ball against the Saints' less than good rushing defense, but Saints win out a close one, but I'm not confident about it at all. Next we have the Lions versus the Giants. I think the Giants, I've learned this year not to pick against the Giants, especially after last week, picking Houston, and that was a bad move. Detroit is there. Their offense is there. Swift looks like he's slowly getting better. Jamal Williams is a great running back. Goff is still there. He needs to be able to find Amon-Ra St. Brown more often. And the Giants, just Saquon Barkley deserves at least some sort of MVP vote this year. He's just been completely rejuvenated from what he was the last 2 years, and he deserves all the praise. And I've learned just not to pick against the Giants. It's in New Jersey, so I will go with the Giants, but it should be close. Next we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Carolina Panthers. Panthers with the surprising win last week. Baltimore coming off a bye. Sure, Mark Andrews will be ready to play. And I think Baltimore is going to have a big day against Carolina. Now, Carolina will be able to stifle that a little bit if they run the ball well, which I think they should be able to do at least a little bit. Baltimore's rushing defense is stout at times and not at others, so should be a close game, at least early on, but I think Baltimore pulls away. Lamar Jackson should continue his winning ways and continue his trek to be another MVP, which I don't think is going to happen, but anything's possible. But in the end, Carolina, I don't think they really have much chance against Baltimore in Baltimore. So Ravens win. Next we have the Washington Commies versus the Houston Texans. Houston, I'm done picking Houston, even though they have one of the best rookies in the game in Dameon Pierce, who continues to run well, although his fumble last week ended any chance of them winning last week. Washington, coming off the surprising win against Philly, I think they shall continue to play well with Taylor Heineke. I mean, they can't go back to Carson Wentz now. It's got to be Heineke all the way. But Houston, other than Dameon Pierce, there's just a lot of mystery with their offense. You never know what's going to happen. Brandon Cooks just hasn't been able to do much this year. And Davis Mills is running out of starting quarterback days. Probably won't be starting next year. As much as I want to believe he can do it, I just don't think he's got it. But Washington in a close one, probably. Next, we have the Denver Broncos versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders losing embarrassingly to the Colts, who had a puppet coach last week. Denver losing to Tennessee. I'm not sure if Jerry Jeudy will play this week. He was stretchered off. He was carted off last week, so who knows if he'll be able to play. It's a big offensive loss. Las Vegas just has the Broncos number. They've had it for the last couple years, so I'm going to pick the Raiders just because they have their number. Even though the Raiders are awful, I think their defensive line should be able to get at the Denver Broncos offensive line quite a bit. And if Russell Wilson doesn't have anybody to throw to, it could be a long day for the Denver offense. So, in a rivalry game, I think the Raiders at least win another game to have 3 wins, but they're still terrible. Absolutely awful. And next we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings, looking to be one of the games of the week. Minnesota coming out that throwing win against the Bills. Dallas coming up that throwing loss to the Packers. I think the Cowboys will bounce back. They should be able to run the ball. They should be able to pass. And they should be able to get after the quarterback. It's as long as Justin Jefferson is healthy with the Vikings, they'll be good. And he'll be able to make any catch that Kirk Cousins errantly throws away. But I think Dallas bounces back after a depressing loss last week. I don't see them losing. Even though it should be a really good game, their pass rush should get back to what it is. Tony Pollard should be able to run the ball well, and maybe Zeke if he plays. But I think the Cowboys are better than what they were last week, but not too much better. Enough to beat the Vikings still. But I've been wrong about Dallas. I've been wrong about them before, so it's anybody's guess what will happen. But Dallas wins in a close one. Next we have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals coming off a bye. Pittsburgh, that win against the Saints. Kenny Pickett looks to continue to look better and better as a quarterback. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow should be back. I don't know if Jamar Chase will be back just yet, but I'm sure he's coming on probably pretty close to being back. If they want to win, they're going to need to get receivers the ball. I don't think Mixon repeats what he did 2 weeks ago, but hopefully it rejuvenated him for the Bengals' sake. Steelers, as long as T.J. Watt is on the field, the defense can do just about anything. Just brings so much. It's in Pittsburgh, but I think Cincinnati wins. Last week was an aberration for the Steelers. I don't think they're very good. They were just playing the Saints in a windy, rainy day. But, yeah, Cincinnati wins. Cincinnati looking to continue to move closer to that, winning the AFC North, which will be really close when they play the Baltimore Ravens again. But Bengals in a somewhat close one for rivalry purposes. Next we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Herbert is, I think, slowly getting better, even though he was just completely knocked out last week by that bad hit by Drake Greenlaw. Kansas City coming off the win against Jacksonville. Now Juju probably won't play after that awful hit he sustained last week. But I think Kansas City will have more than enough firepower to beat the Chargers. I don't think Chargers will be getting back their 2 top weapons yet, which is really troubling for them. They really can't move the ball as well without them. Although Eckler should be able to run the ball pretty well, unfortunately. And probably be a close game. Chiefs and the Chargers usually is a pretty close game. Kelsey should be good. And yeah, Mahomes continues to charge his way towards another MVP. Chiefs in a close game. And last but not least, we have the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals winning last week without Kyler Murray against the Rams I didn't watch the game at all because I knew it would be awful, and it truly was. San Francisco winning on Sunday night against the Chargers. They look to be getting better and better. Unfortunately for the rest of the league, I hate the 49ers so much. McCaffrey looks to be getting better, although I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop in form of injury. To be honest, I think it's just going to happen. San Francisco, I hate you so much. They just, even though they have Jimmy Garoppolo, they don't put him in situations where he has to. As long as they can run the ball, their defense holds up, they're probably going to win just because Jimmy won't be able to make mistakes, which is always the question. Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's going to play this week. If they want to win, he's going to need to be able to play. But I think San Francisco wins. Should probably be close for rivalry purposes, but you never know with these two teams. They seem evenly matched, but then they aren't. So, there we go. We have our games of the week. All the games to go over again. Pick the Packers, the Bears, the Bills, the Eagles, the Jets. No, I'm picking them. I said I was picking the Patriots. The Saints, the Giants, Baltimore, Washington, the Raiders, Dallas Cowboys, Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs, and San Francisco 49ers. So, you know where to find all my social media accounts. Again, really trying to make Rumble a bigger thing. I love Rumble more than YouTube so much. So, hit me up there. I will be releasing content there soon enough. Once I have enough people over there that might want to watch some other content that YouTube may or may not think is verboten. Now, there you go. You know where to find me. And I hope you have a great day. Go Pack Go, and God bless.